Welcome back. As we all know, COVID shut down the world for months and caught many scientists off guard. But scientists at Lawrence Tech could be on the cutting edge to detect the next pandemic. Joining me now is Bruce Pellet, professor with Lawrence Tech. Thanks a lot for coming in this morning, Bruce.
Sure. Thanks for having me on.
All right. So I guess, is the real question not if another pandemic's going to strike, but when?
That is correct. Yeah. It will definitely happen again.
So since we know that, it will more than likely happen again, what are some of the lessons we can take from COVID that we can use moving forward?
So one of the main things is that COVID, in this case, shows up in stool concentrations, so which goes into the wastewater system, and we can monitor the wastewater system to kind of survey and find out when a new disease comes along, basically.
All right, so, I mean, I know, scientists, you got to dumb it down for us a little bit, but kind of tell us about the process of how you're using wastewater to, find out and maybe even treat COVID.
Sure, yeah. So the idea is basically we have clinical studies that measure the concentration of the virus in the stool samples, and then we know from the sampling at the wastewater stations how much concentration is in the wastewater of the virus. And then we know how many people are served by the wastewater station, and so we can use some math to back calculate how many people are actually shedding the virus.
Okay, so will this help us detect, the next virus, or can this help us treat the next virus?
More detect.
Detect?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would say.
So now, how did this all come about? Was this done with grant money, or what, who came up with this idea to start looking into the wastewater?
Oh, so we're not the first ones. Wastewater is actually, surveillance has been around for a while, but it's really become more popular with COVID now. Before it was used for like drugs and things like that, to monitor for drugs.
All right, now if you could, look in a crystal ball and maybe look ahead, I don't know, 3, 5, 10 years, where do you think this research will take us? And what do you think will help us, with? Do you think it will actually help us with the next pandemic?
That's the hope, yeah. Hopefully we use the data to kind of design and calibrate better forecasting models for forecasting the disease spread and things like that.
And I guess, if you're measuring yourself, is this where, you'd hope this project would be at this point in time, or would you like to see it, further advanced, or do you think you're ahead of schedule?
Oh, that's a great question. I'd always would want it to be, right, ahead of schedule, but realistically, we'll take what we can get.
Yeah. Now, is this kind of indicative of just kind of the projects that, people are working at Lawrence Tech, like kind of these groundbreaking things?
It is, yeah. So it's me and some other collaborators at Lawrence Tech, and then some other people from Arizona and Texas.
All right, well, that's fascinating stuff, Bruce. Thanks a lot for coming in this morning, and
Sure.
Hope that research continues and, can obviously help avoid any kind of next pandemic.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
All right, it's a pleasure.